Is shit really about to go down? Hey everyone, welcome to Princess Gay. I'm your host Connie, and today we're here with episode 1128 of One Piece. And yeah, like we've had Kizaru versus Luffy, and based on the ending of last episode, it looks like we're about to also get Saturn joining in the fight. It looks like he's finally going to get involved. And we haven't even gotten like the full backstory stuff with Kuma and everything yet. Like we know that's still coming, and we know Bonnie's already seen it all, but it's like, when are we actually going to get this? Seeing Bonnie fight last time and actually get like actively involved using her power to switch between forms as part of her fighting style is really cool, by the way. It's just really cool. And we also got the confirmation from Vegapunk last time that Bonnie is a child. Vegapunk specifically called her as such, surprising everyone else. Yeah, it's like, I guess it's something that like you wouldn't normally think about, but like I said last time, it is something I was spoiled on, unfortunately. I do wish I would have been more surprised by it, but I mean, I can't really help it. The One Piece fandom sucks when it comes to spoilers. But I'm excited to see where this goes, because shit is getting crazy, is getting wild. This entire arc has been amazing. Not like Wano levels of amazing, because Wano just hits completely different, but pretty great nonetheless. And I'm excited to see how it continues to go, how it ends, etc., etc. So let's just get into this. I know we're making these pre thoughts quick, but let's get into this and see what this episode has in store. Hold up just a sec. Before you click that link down in the description below to get to today's video, I want to remind you of all the awesome content we have both on this channel and the Princess of Gaming channel. Let's check it out. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. Wow. Like, I was getting teary eyed at the end there, and I am again now. Not because of like anything particularly sad happening, though that's still definitely coming in the future with the Kuma stuff. Kuma and Bonnie's backstory is definitely going to probably break me, based on if this opening is anything. Um, I, I'm tearing up because I've said this in the past. I'm an emotional bitch. I tend to get like really emotional at the smallest provocation. And it's not just stuff that's sad, it can be stuff that's super exciting, stuff that's anger inducing, stuff that's, really happy. It can be any emotion, really. Um, in this case, it's just it's just hype. It's just the pure aura that Saint Saturn emits. Because this is one of the Gorosei, like one of the top dogs of this entire series. Like the only person above the Gorosei in terms of like ranking, but also like probably in terms of like a lot of the, villains power scaling is Emu. Like the girls here are absolutely on a different level from like Blackbeard, and Shanks might be on the same level as them, but I'm unclear about that at the moment. It's not exactly sure. I do believe that Roger and Whitebeard in their prime were stronger than the Gorosei are currently. I do believe that. But like Whitebeard in the Paramount War was not on the level of the Gorosei anymore. Um, the fact is, in the current day, like outside of maybe Shanks and Mihawk, the Gorosei are amongst the strongest in the world. Like absolutely, because they have to be. They're like the top tier villains of this series. They have to be the strongest because that's how these kind of shows work. You have to have that power scaling as you go along. Sorry for the random update sound. But you have to have that power scaling as you go along because it allows for things to feel natural. If you have enemies that are weaker, it's going to be like, oh, you're going to go from this enemy who is like this strong and go down to a weaker enemy. It's like that's kind of boring and doesn't make sense. Which is why the main villains of this being of this arc being Kizaru and Saint Saturn, at least from what we see so far, makes sense because both of them are absolutely stronger than the main villains of the previous arc in Wano, Big Mom and Kaido. And I guess Orochi, but let's be honest, Orochi doesn't really count for much. um, but yeah, it's it's insane because this is such a drastic step up. Like Kaido, obviously exceptionally strong. Big Mom exceptionally strong. Both of them were Yonko for a reason. But then you go from them to like an admiral. That's a normal step up. I feel like that's pretty normal. But then you go and it's like, oh, we're not just bringing in an admiral. We're also bringing in one of the fucking Gorosei. And it's like, how do we even fight this? Because Luffy has godlike powers, obviously, with his Gear Fifth. But one, he's out of energy for that right now. And two, even in his Gear Fifth, he's not as fully trained and like mastering. He hasn't mastered it enough to honestly like fully take on a Gorosei. I think Luffy's kind of out of his league with that. Like with an admiral, sure, fair enough. I can believe Luffy can take on an admiral. But even he and Kizaru were pretty much evenly matched. They were at a stalemate, not really being able to do much of anything to each other. But Saint Saturn, like, even if he's the weakest of the Gorosei, which is, I think, pretty likely considering he's the first one we're facing, even if that's the case, he is absolutely still, like, on another level. And the fact that he's taking action is insane in the first place. He came here clearly because he felt it was necessary, or I guess the Gorosei as a whole felt it was necessary. Which means that they felt Kizaru might not be enough to accomplish this mission. They anticipated that. But I assume Saturn wouldn't have intervened unless he felt it was absolutely needed. So the fact that he's now getting involved completely changes everything. It just it makes this entire battle not just harder, but almost impossible. Because it's like, what are you even supposed to try to do at this point? And we don't even know the full scale of his power. All we know is that he is a, like, I don't know, a Jirai Gumo or something. And he seems to be an awakened Zoan type, probably mythical Zoan, I would wager. Which, if he's a Jirai Guma, that would make sense. Um, yeah, he has the clouds just like Lucci or Luffy, so I'm assuming awakened. Although, thinking back, Doflamingo I don't think had those clouds with his, and he was awakened. But also, maybe that just wasn't a design thing at the time, and maybe the clouds are like for Zoan types, because Luffy and Lucci are both Zoan types. And if he's a mythical Zoan as well, Saint Saturn, that would also track. Maybe that's it. I don't know. But we can assume at this point. And by the way, if anything's revealed in the manga and everything, do not tell me. I don't want spoilers. I'm guessing at this moment, but do not correct me one way or the other. Um but yeah, from what we can see at the moment, he seems to be like possibly a Jirai Gumo, possibly a mythical Zoan type, awakened. And we haven't actually seen him do much of anything. Like, he did one thing since landing on the island, and that was kill a random Navy soldier who beheld him. Because that's apparently against the rules. That's it. We haven't seen him fight or attack anyone otherwise. Though Bonnie at the end attacking him, it's like, okay, we got from the glimpses of the backstory, I guess, that he was the one who ordered Vegapunk to turn Kuma into this. But didn't Vegapunk say before that Kuma had volunteered? Meaning there's definitely more behind the backstory, but like Saturn is definitely behind, which again makes sense. Um, he's the godhead of science and defense. It would make sense that he would have pretty much everything to do with Kuma in regards to, the celestial dragons and all. That just tracks. But I'm very interested in this backstory, like more than ever now. Knowing how clearly important to Bonnie it was to attack him, knowing she's not strong enough to really, kill him or anything. It's actually surprising, he let her take the hit, because he absolutely had to have let her do that. He could have easily stopped her. Why did he let her stab him? Draw blood. That's a big part of it too. He let her draw blood. He's a fucking celestial dragon. Not just a celestial dragon, a Gorosei. And he let her draw blood. That's kind of shocking. That's probably more shocking than just him having this form. Because we kind of already knew that they had some crazy forms based on, again, when Sabo and Cobra were there and everything. It looked like Emu had a notable form too, right? So it's probably all connected. But this is like crazy. I'm very curious to see what more he can do. And Sanji used his like Lady Dar, as he called it, which we've seen him use before, but it's made more clear here than I think before ever that his Lady Dar has always just been color of observation hockey. And it's just been like he's been like so aggressively like intent on like finding and, in a lot of cases helping women, that he's had hockey for quite a long time, because he's had this power like a long time, right? We've seen, I believe we saw him use this in Shabandi, like the first time we were in Shabandi, right? Unless it was the second time. Maybe it was when it was the return to Shabandi after the time skip. Maybe that is the first time he used it. I believe it was in Shabandi either way. If it was after the time skip, that would make a lot more sense too. But either way, it's very obviously just color of observation. But he uses it for a very specific, narrow-minded goal, which, yeah, that tracks. I'm surprised they didn't touch on Bonnie being a child again in this one. Um, I really felt like they were going to, but they just didn't touch on it again. So that's definitely going to come into play, probably with the backstory, maybe. Or maybe, like, Vegapunk will just mention it at some point. I'm very, very curious to just see how all this goes down, because I think at this point there's two options. Either one, we are going to cut straight into the backstory starting next episode, and we will come back after the backstory to the continued fight with Saturn. I feel like that very much could happen because we've done this shit before. One Piece has done that same exact thing before, where they cut away from like a battle or a big moment, and just suddenly backstory. Even if it's not directly a battle, it'll still be like during a pivotal moment, like in Wano, in Act 3, where the samurai are waiting on the coast and everything, and it's like, where is everybody? And then it suddenly cut back to Odin's backstory out of nowhere. Okay. um, I don't mind it. It's just, it is a very sudden cut usually, and I think that might be what they're going for here. I think they might cut away and start the flashback, start the backstory. But the second option is that we just continue into the battle, at least for another episode or two. I think we're going to get the backstory very soon, though. It's really starting to feel that way. Um, I think cutting it here, though, would make sense, because then we'll go through the backstory and see exactly why Bonnie hates Saturn, and so when we come back, it'll be able to continue just in that way. I think that would be a logical move to make. Um, but yeah, it's like we have like three enemies we have to face right now. Zoro is still facing Lucci. Kizaru has been smacked with the star gun by Luffy, but Luffy in turn has faded back into his you know, powerless form for the time being. And Saturn is here and active and is a very intense threat. Because when he killed that one Navy soldier, he didn't seemingly move or anything. It seemed to be almost with his mind. Like, it's like almost using like the color of the Supreme King hockey, but instead of like knocking someone out, he killed a person with it. And if that's actually what happened, that's insane. If he actually killed that guy with his color of the Supreme King hockey, Jesus fuck. That's terrifying. Because that would probably make the Gorosei's hockey probably the strongest. Because, I mean, unless we believe Shanks can do that too. Or I guess Mihawk, because Shanks and Mihawk are pretty much on the same level. But we have no evidence to support that idea. Of course, there's always Emu. Like, Emu always counts as the strongest. You know what I mean? Like, ignoring Emu, like, the strongest color, the Supreme King hockey. How about this? The strongest we've seen. Let's put it that way. I think that's more fair. The strongest use of color of the Supreme King that we have seen as of current. So I'm very, very interested to see how this continues, because this is getting insane. And by the way, I didn't know, or if I did see it, I completely forgot, which thankfully, what his form looked like. I don't know what any of their forms look like, the Gorosei. Um, I didn't know he was going to be like this Jiraiya spider-like creature. Um, so that's fun. I wonder what the others are going to be like. Are they also going to be just like these mythical like creature animal things? Because there's a lot of different ideas for that. I wonder like how are we going to like face a new one in each arc? But I don't think there's that many arcs left, right? If there's five elders, well, maybe there's five arcs left. Because if we're counting this, we have Egghead, we have Elbath, and then there would be three arcs after. I could believe that actually. I could believe there could be three arcs after that. So maybe, but also that doesn't leave room for Emu. That doesn't leave room for others like Blackbeard and Shanks, and like unless we're gonna face them at the same time as other like Gorosei or something. I don't know. I guess we'll have to wait and see. So yeah, very curious to see what happens. This is getting insane. Next week can't come soon enough. But for the meantime, tell me in the comments below what you thought of this episode, and obviously, no spoilers. Do not spoil me on anything that happens in the manga. I am anime only, and I wish to remain anime only, and I want to remain spoiler free. So, thank you so much for tuning in, and for now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.